Hi everyone, this is Arcadius and welcome back to Naval Creed. Today we will finally start going over the fully released French destroyers. There's been quite a few of them and they've been out for some time, so you may actually have some, if not all of them, in your port already. But they are exceedingly fun destroyers, or at least the majority of them are. I have talked about them a few times in the past, especially when they were first coming out, but I have actually nailed down their play style because at first I enjoyed playing the lower tiers. It was just so easy to play them, but at the higher tiers I was really struggling. But I figured out a playing style that worked best for me, and I will pass that along to you as well. But first, let's just do a quick general review of the French destroyer line. So first we start with Bourrasque at tier 5. Here we go. She has 4 guns and 2 triple torpedo tubes. Then we go to Eagle at tier 6. So we get 5 guns and we still keep 2 triple torpedo tubes. You can see these ships are really long, and we'll explain why that is in a little bit. Tier 7 we have Vequelin. We still have 5 guns, 1 triple torpedo tube here, and 2 twin torpedo tubes there. So we kind of have a little bit of a split. Then we go to Le Terrible. Pretty similar to Le Fantasque, who is already in the game. 5 guns, but we have 3 triple torpedo tubes, 2 of them being on the wing and 1 on the center line. Next we go to Le Hardy. 3 twin guns, 2 triple torpedo tubes, and 2 twin. And then Mogador at tier 10 with 4 twin guns, 2 triple torpedo tubes, and 2 twin torpedo tubes. These are going to be the main French destroyer line. These are really fun. Not only do they have the largest gun caliber on pretty much any destroyer you can find, 139mm guns. That's just short of Japanese light cruiser guns, because Sendai has 140mm guns. So we're looking at destroyers that have pretty much light cruiser weaponry. In fact, Mogador is almost as big as a light cruiser, and kind of has the firepower to go with it. But as a destroyer, she doesn't have a citadel, so it's a lot of fun. Not only do they have large terms of firepower in terms of guns, but their torpedoes also pack a huge kick. They are all single launch torpedoes, so you have 5 different shots, at least on a Mogador here. You can fire each torpedo separately, and they do insane amounts of damage. 28,000 damage per torpedo. Now, I don't know if I have that upgraded or not yet on this one. Nope. But the damages are insane at pretty much every tier, unless it's a really high-end battleship like Grossa Kurfürst or Yamato with its 50% torpedo reduction. You can pretty much sail a battleship in 2 or 3 torpedo hits. And anything smaller than that, cruisers, 1 or 2. Heavy cruisers, probably 2. Light cruisers, 1. And don't even waste a torpedo on a destroyer because it's completely overkill. But you can if you want. Are they fast torpedoes? Yeah, 72 knot torpedoes, at least at the top tier. Let's see what we have at the low tier. 65 knots. So still pretty spicy speed here. Speaking about speed, the ships themselves are insanely fast. We start out at only 33 knots, so that's not terrible. But when we get to Mogador, we're looking at blistering 40.5 knots. And we get speed boost on every single one of these French destroyers that lasts forever and a day. I think my Mogador, with my speed boost and all my speed buffs applied, I get it up to 57 knots. Now, mind you, a downside of these destroyers is that when they're going so fast, they don't turn very well. So either you have to give yourself a nice football field and a half to turn around, or you just have to slow down and turn and then speed back up once you complete the turn. The second way is the preferable method, and I find that works best. Especially since you have your speed boost activated, you accelerate pretty quickly. Guns going back to them real quick, you do have large caliber guns, but they can be a little bit slow on in terms of shell velocity. But honestly, I've had no issues landing shots. Um, it's honestly really, really fun with these, especially Bourrasque. You can citadel Congos with your guns. Now you can also do that with pretty much any destroyer because it doesn't have that much armor. I've done it with Farragut. It's really fun. But yeah, and then the last big thing is actually its consumables. It gets repair, it gets a speed boost, and it gets a heal. Okay, every single French destroyer, minus Le Fantasque, um, or the ones I've just talked about, I should say, have a heal. And now it's not just a normal heal. It's not like a Udachi heal. It's not a Yukikaze heal. What's the other destroyer that has a heal? There's a couple others, but I'm thinking of the Pan-Asian one. Is it Shenyang or something? Fenyang. Yeah, Fenyang also gets a heal, but the French destroyers get the French heal, which means you get 7 heals. And it's not just at tier 5. If you go all the way up to, where is she? There he is. Tier 10, you still get 7 heals. So you don't get a smokescreen, but you can literally just rush battleships, put a handful of torpedoes into them, destroy them with said torpedoes, rush away at 57 knots, at least with this ship, for me, and then heal whatever damage you have. And by the time you pop like 2 or 3 heals, you're back to full health, and you can do it all over again. It's absolutely insane how fun and slightly broken these ships are. Anti-aircraft is not really a priority for them, but then again, they just outrun anything that attacks them. If you're being attacked by aircraft, specifically torpedo bombers, slow it down to like a half or a third, let them drop, and then speed back up, and you will just outrun the torpedoes. It's funny as heck, honestly. Concealment. I actually don't know how their concealment is, so we're gonna take a look at that myself. So I may have worked on concealment. Well, at tier 5, we're already at 6.5 kilometer detection. I don't think I have my cruise skill activated for that. Let's take a look. No, we do. That is fully concealed, 6.5. So that's actually kind of terrible. Let's take a look at Kleber. Do I have the cruise skill? Yes, I do. Let's see what our concealment is here. 7.2. So you're not going to be hiding from anyone, but you're definitely going to be outrunning everyone, out damaging with torpedoes and guns pretty well. It's a fun ship. It's honestly, you could say this is just a YOLO ship, but if you play it correctly, then it's not. It's actually really fun. Now, that is the majority of the French destroyers. That's not including Le Fantasque. I have her own video. She is slightly different. She doesn't get a heal. She does get a smokescreen and a defensive AA or a speed boost. She only gets 2 triple torpedo launchers, but they are not the same kind as the main tech tree lines. It fires all 3 at the same time, and they don't do nearly as much damage. In fact, you can see here they only do 15,400. So we're doing a heck of a lot more damage with these French destroyers. Now there is one little side branch, I guess you could say, or subclass. These ones I'm not too happy with. They're pretty much exactly the same, and they're not that fun. So first we have the T-47. I've renamed her Crescent. So we get the twin 127 mils that we find on like Jeanne d'Arc and everything like that as secondaries. These guns are okay. And then we have 4 triple launchers of torpedoes. You'd think that'd be powerful. And yes, 4 triple launchers is strong, but they don't have the French torpedo damage, and they launch all 3 of them at the same time. The main purpose of this ship is kind of as an anti-aircraft ship, but she only does 34.5 knots at tier 9. So you're exceedingly slow, Your guns aren't as big. You have one turret up front, two turrets in the back, so your layout for your guns isn't really spectacular. You have a lot of torpedoes, but they don't do that much damage. And what's their range? Okay, they do go quite far at 15 kilometers, which is a lot different from the other French destroyers because those only go out to like 7 or 8 kilometers maximum. So you kind of trade in your firepower for longer range torpedoes and increased anti-aircraft. But if I want a destroyer class that has good guns and decent anti-aircraft, I'm just going to go with the Americans. Like Fletcher, Gearing, they have better maneuverability and faster speed as well. And then Forbin, she does have a camo, but it's pretty much exactly the same ship. 3 twin 127s, 4 triple torpedo launchers. There's really not even that much of a difference. If you actually look at the ships themselves, let me do it like this. So you can see this is Crescent and this is Dupert. There's pretty much only a handful of changes to the actual showing of the ship. Like if you look at the bridge, there's a little bit of change there, but nothing really other than that. So these two ships are pretty much identical, which is exactly what I hate in the game. Please no copy-paste ships or copycat ships. Give us something different. It's even worse because you have to use one to unlock the other. But just both of them aren't that good at all. So we'll still do videos on them, but if you could already tell, I'm very strongly against liking these two destroyers. But that is what we have for French destroyers. Fast speed, ridiculous heel, large caliber guns that are pretty much like cruiser, torpedoes that hit like a battleship shell, honestly. They do more than a citadel. And yeah, so you just run around the map at crazy speeds, nailing targets with your guns that can citadel cruisers. I think I've actually citadeled a couple battleships before as well, believe it or not. Like with Kleber, I think I've citadel Missouri. So that's a thing. And yeah, these are just really, really fun destroyers. So we're going to start off with Bourrasque and work our way down. So let's take a closer look at Bourrasque. 13,900 health. You're a destroyer, so you don't have armor. Yeah, you don't have armor, but that's fine because you're a destroyer. You don't really need it. Speed is 33 knots. We've been over that. So she's pretty quick. Not the fastest yet. It does increase pretty quickly, but for this tier, it's pretty nice. We have 4 130 millimeter guns, 8 rounds a minute. You can see all the damages here. Like HE damage, 2350, AP damage, 2500. Those hurt. If we look at other tier 5 destroyers, let's pick on Mitsuki for a moment because of how garbage she is. Those are the guns you have for Mitsuki, 1700 and 1600 damage, so you actually do more with high explosive. Farragut is always going to be a great ship, but even then she doesn't do as much damage as Bourrasque does, but she can fire faster and has more guns. What else do we have? Electra kind of has the same gun layout, 2 and 2, but they're smaller and they don't do nearly as much damage. And then if you take Gnevny tier 5, she also has 130 millimeter guns. Bourrasque does more HE damage, but Gnevny actually does more AP damage. So it's pretty similar to Gnevny, actually, now that I think about it. But this one's just a lot more fun because of your torpedoes. 2 triple launchers, as we've already mentioned. Single launch torpedoes that do insane amounts of damage, 17,800. Now, if we wanted to compare that back to Gnevny real quick, because they are so similar, we can take a look at their torpedo damage, 14,400. So we definitely outclass Gnevny in terms of torpedoes. And that'll be it for comparing them to the other ships right now, because I'm kind of tired of going back and forth. 12.8 kilometer main gun range, so you can hit about to a fair distance. Anti-aircraft, it's pretty much non-existent, but again, you're a low-tier destroyer, so there's really not any reason to have it. But yeah, and then concealment was 6.5 fully concealed so far. But besides that, this is a really, really fun ship, so let's toss her into a game and show you what she can do. Alright, let's see what kind of game we have today. Two battleships, 4 cruisers, and 1 destroyer. Now the cruisers are all Krasny Kavkaz, which actually have a pretty decent secondary armament. So we are going to be taking damage, especially if we rush those down. But we have the heal exactly for that reason. So not to worry there. 2 battleships, it was a Koenig and Britannia. Neither are exceptionally good at this tier either. So we're just going to start rushing them down. I do have health buffs and speed buffs applied, so do keep them in mind. For example, I have more health than a Krasny Kavkaz. I'm going to immediately start off with a speed boost that lasts for 150 seconds, so over 2 minutes worth of speed boost. And let's start peppering this Bourrasque. And I'll just show you how much damage these shells can actually do. Now you can kind of see the slightly slower shell speed, but as soon as you understand where to hit, look at that 27 damage, or yeah, 2700 damage right there, another 1500, and this ship is already at health. So you can just melt destroyers once you get them dialed in. And as a French destroyer, she doesn't have a smoke screen, so she's just done. Gonna fire first off some HE, but I'm gonna switch over to armor piercing. Gotta fire. Let's see if I can citadel her from 4.5 kilometers. I got triple citadel for 7,600 damage. 2 more citadels. So yeah, you just kind of chomp cruisers, and yeah, 3 more citadels right there. Let me see if I can finish her off. And then let's see if I get a torpedo. Well, I'm waiting for my launchers. Okay, well that was a bust. And you might think, oh, you're getting hurt a lot. You'd kind of be right. But I also have a heal. And waiting for my torps. There we go. They just now loaded, by the way. They do take quite a while to actually reload. And load in general. I think Kleber takes 2.5 minutes to actually load her torpedoes. Which is fine. Because you want to use your guns a lot. Did I miss? I missed the Koenig. That's upsetting. Then we'll just have to wait around a little bit, heal some more, and dive back in. If they still live. I'm going to slow down so I can turn better. And there we go. Also, heal is already back up, so we're going to pop that again. Speed boost is still activated, even after all of this time. Though not for much longer. And I might be able to get the kill. There we go. Alright, now, believe it or not, armor piercing on battleships is going to do quite a bit of damage as well. We're going to try and work down this Britannia and then rush the Koenig with our torpedoes, because we still have 3 left. But if you do just a bunch of armor piercing hits, you can do some decent damage on battleships. Sometimes if I'll hit them with a torpedo and it doesn't immediately kill them, I'll just gun them down because they're so low on health at that point. Also, another heal is up. Time to turn in because the Britannia's gone. 3 torpedoes. Actually, we're going to have all 6 torpedoes because it took us so long to get around. And you can literally just... Well, that one hit the main belt. But if you aim for like the casemates or something, you're going to go through them. And single launch torpedoes. Boop, boop, boop. And we're just going to overkill that. I don't need all 6. but I'm kind of upset she dodged the first 3, so boom, boom. Yeah, 3 torpedoes. Only pretty much 2 were needed to sink her because she had such a small little sliver of health left. I could have just gunned her down. And probably 1 salvo, believe it or not. And that was Bourrasque. We actually did next to no damage, surprisingly. I've cracked over 100,000 K with this ship. 4 ships sunk, 74 shell hits, 3 torpedoes, 11 citadels, 3 fires, 1 flooding, 1 defended cap. If you look, armor piercing did quite a bit. Remember, we were getting all of those citadels. Fires did practically nothing, and then torpedoes did a lot of damage as well. So that wasn't really a great battle to show off Bourrasque, unfortunately. But yeah, she's a really, really good ship, and I like her a lot. With that, I will wrap up today's video. If you liked the video, make sure you like and subscribe. And join me next time while we will be going over the next destroyer, Eagle. So again, thank you and take care.